Okay, so people putting out crazy ideas is nothing new, and they should always be able to do that. The trouble is that some are already on their way when we started to listen. Kevin Spacey used to be a movie star who made a lot of money and won Oscars. In 2025, he was caught on camera working at a gas station. A lot of people have watched the film. He won 2 Oscars and was paid $20 million per movie, but now he's pumping gas for minimum pay. But this isn't just about a star that fell. The video shows a shocking truth about what happened to his $100 million income. You'll cry when you hear what he says to the customer. This is what Hollywood's biggest fall really cost. Kevin Spacey Fowler was born in South Orange, New Jersey, on July 26, 1959. He was the third child and the youngest. His home seemed normal from the outside. Storms behind closed doors, though. Kathleen was his mother and worked as a secretary. Thomas, his father, tried to make a living as a technical writer and data analyst, but he could never keep a job. The family moved from state to state until Kevin was 4 years old and they finally settled down in Southern California. His grandma gave him his middle name, and one day it would be a name that everyone knew. His mother's side of the family had Swedish roots, and his father's side had English ones. That didn't matter in their house, though, because fear was what ran things there. Years from now, Kevin's bigger brother Randy would reveal the family secret. He told the press in 2017 that their father had been a Nazi in the United States. He got rid of his beard to look like Hitler. He went on and on about Holocaust denial during dinner. Shady plans and secrets. Randy said that he was abused sexually and physically starting when he was 12 years old. Their mother sat there in silence, not wanting to talk about what Randy went through. The kids called their dad the creature. Randy told their father that if he ever touched Kevin, Randy would tell everyone. Julie, their sister, ran away when she turned 18. Randy claimed that their house was a scary place that no one ever saw from the outside. Kevin began to fall as well in the middle of all that chaos. He burned down his sister's treehouse when he was about 9 years old. People thought it was just a joke, but it scared his family so much that they sent him to Northridge Military Academy. They thought that strict rules would help him change. He even won an award for leadership at first, but that didn't make him calm down. He was kicked out of school when he was 14 for throwing a tire at a classmate's head during a boxing match. He couldn't get away from the trouble that was growing inside him, not even military school. When he moved to Los Angeles in 1974 and went to Chatsworth High School, everything changed. When the troubled kid who was kicked out of military school went to the acting club, he felt something he had never felt before. He started playing in every show he could, and in the end he was in 17 plays. He worked out on the school stage for hours. Captain Von Trapp was his role in The Sound of Music. Mayor Winningham played Maria. At that time, Val Kilmer was also at Chatsworth. He was Winningham's boyfriend and a young artist in the same circle Kevin was about to join. By 1977, Kevin had gone from being kicked out of school to being a big name in the theater scene at his school. He and Winningham were both co-valedictorian of their class. And both of them won acting awards chosen by their friends. At night, he tried stand-up comedy in comedy clubs, imitating famous people like Bill Cosby. He was finally getting out, but he couldn't see the whole way yet. He tried going to Los Angeles Valley College for advertising after high school, but he couldn't sit still in class. He quit school in 1978 and went to New York City. He went from one club to another for open mic nights and kept bombing. But things changed when Val Kilmer told Kevin to apply to Juilliard. Kilmer already knew how good Kevin could be. Kevin looked at it. He joined Juilliard's acting department in 1979 as a member of Group 12. Kilmer had been there for 3 years already. They became close when they were kids and met in Sunday school when they were 12 years old. In high school, they ran into each other again. Now in New York. Kilmer even showed him Marion Seldy's 3 weeks before school started and told him she would teach him Shakespeare. Their friendship would end because of money in the end. But Kilmer's push made Kevin go in a whole new way. From 1979 to 1981, Kevin spent 2 very busy years at Juilliard. His boredom made him want to work instead of study. He quit school without getting a license when he was 22 and went to the New York Shakespeare Festival. His first job was as a runner in Henry VI at the Delacorte Theatre in Central Park on September 4, 1981. That group had Mandy Patinkin in it. At the same time, Kevin worked in Joseph Papp's office in the Xerox room. Papp saw him in a show off Broadway and told him straight out that he belonged on stage, not running a copy machine. In the fall of that year, Papp fired him from the office job so that he could play full-time. Kevin remembered that date for many years. In fact, he brought it up 44 years later, when he accepted an award for his lifetime in 2025. By 1982, he was in Ibsen's Ghosts on Broadway. In 1986, 4 years later, he got the part that would make his life different. At the Broadhurst Theatre, he played Jamie Tyrone in Long Day's Journey into Night, staring next to Jack Lemmon. The show was so good that it was filmed in 1987. Kevin learned a lot from Jack Lemmon, who helped him through some of the hardest emotional stuff he had ever had to work with. At this point, critics started to think he was a real gift. In the 1980s, he barely made it with off-Broadway shows. He was a substitute for Harvey Keitel and Hurly Burly at the Public Theater. He played famous parts, such as Felinty in The Misanthrope. In The Seagull, he was in the same show as David Strathern and Colleen Dewhurst. To make ends meet when his acting jobs dried up, he sold shoes or worked as a building supervisor. During this time, he even played Claudius in Hamlet. Every battle, part, and shift he did helped him build up the range he would later show on camera. Everything paid off in 1991. The Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a Play went to him when he was 31. It was for Lost in Yonkers. Before going to Broadway in February 1991, the show opened in Winston-Salem on December 31, 1990. It was put on 780 times, with 11 shows. The play won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama, and Kevin became more well-known for his part as Uncle Louis. He had finally made it after years of living in small flats, doing odd jobs, and performing on small stages. His movie work also began to grow. In 1986, he shot a small part in Heartburn with Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson that wasn't given to him. It was his very first time on TV, and he played a nervous subway robber for a short time. In Working Girl, 1988, he got a lot of attention for his role as a shady boss who tries to ask Melanie Griffith's character to marry him. Though it was a small part, reviewers paid attention to him. He wrote about a wide range of people from 1989 to 1992. He was in the movie See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. He was in Henry and June in 1990, which was the first movie ever to get an NC-17 rating. It got him an Oscar nod for cinematography and showed that he wasn't afraid to work on risky projects. He did well in Gary Glenn Ross, 1992, which starred Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin, and Ed Harris. In his part as John Williamson, he showed that he could deliver David Mamet's sharp lines with icy accuracy. Pacino even said nice things about how well the young actor handled the stress. In 1994, he went into more dangerous areas. In Swimming with Sharks, he played Buddy Ackerman, a Hollywood boss who beat up his helper. Fans loved Kevin's performance, which was one of the most intense of his early career, but the movie only made $382 to $728. In the fall of that same year, he played Lloyd Chasseur in The Ref, a Christmas Eve hostage comedy that turned into a crazy therapy session starring Judy Davis and Dennis Leary. Kevin Spacey's rise was like a long, secret current that pushed him forward even though no one knew how far he would go. It began in 1995, when The Standard Suspects put him at the center of a lot of rumors in Hollywood. A lot of people were shocked when they left the theater, trying to figure out how the quiet man with the limp could have tricked everyone. After beating out Ed Harris, he stood on stage at the 68th Academy Awards in 1996 with the award for Best Supporting Actor. Only $6 million was spent on making the movie, which took 35 days and took place in Los Angeles, San Pedro, and New York City. But the twist turned into a culture quake. Whenever Spacey saw Bryan Singer at the Sundance Film Festival in 1993, he told him he wanted to be in whatever came next. This made Singer offer him the part. Everyone loved the line about the big trick the devil has ever pulled. All of a sudden, he had a BAFTA, a Critics' Choice Award, a National Board of Review Prize, and the name Master of Shadows in Hollywood. It was still going on about Kaiser Sosa when Spacey quietly fell into another nightmare. He showed up to work on C7M in 1995 without his name being in the opening credits or the ads. He wanted to keep things secret, and he wouldn't sign until the company agreed. He got a call on a Friday night. He was on set by Tuesday, and all of his parts were done in 12 days. The whole filming took place in downtown Los Angeles from December 1994 to March 1995, and it rained the whole time, so there would be no breaks in the story. The item that everyone still talks about is the box that had a fake head cut off in it, which showed up again 16 years later in Gwyneth Paltrow's body scene in Contagion. Spacey won another award from the National Board of Review and was nominated for a Saturn Award. This connects C7 to the same crazy breakout year as The Usual Suspects and Outbreak. By the end of 1995, everyone knew that the same actor played two of the scariest roles on film. Then 1997 came along. Something quieter but just as dangerous changed. L.A. Confidential put him in Curtis Hanson's smoky Los Angeles of the 1950s as Detective Jack Vincentese, a man who cared more about looks than law. He gave advice on the TV show Badge of Honor, which was like a dragnet, and he was both a cop and a famous person. Because of this, he was the link between Russell Crowe's tense Bud White and Guy Pearce's driven Ed Exley. Spacey was nominated for a Golden Globe and a BAFTA, and the movie was another big winner at the 70th Academy Awards. People saw that he wasn't just good at playing bad guys, even though he was very good at them. He could play evil people with charm and good guys with a hint of guilt. His first trip into the heat of Mississippi was in 1996, just to kill some time, taking on the part of Rufus Buckley, the district attorney. He was the lawyer who was set on convicting Carl Lee Haley, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and his fights with Matthew McConaughey's Jake Brigans in court were what drove the movie. The film was shot in real Mississippi towns to capture the heat, humidity, and unease of the South. With Sandra Bullock, Donald Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland, and Oliver Platt all around him, Kevin Spacey used his stage experience to give sharp opening statements in court. The movie showed that he could be in charge even when the plot put him in the middle of public anger and legal battles. Then there was the Southern Gothic fog of 1997, and Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil told a true story. Spacey played the part of Jim Williams, the Savannah Antiques owner who got 4 murder trials but was found not guilty of shooting his 21-year-old lover Danny Hansford on May 2, 1981. The trials went on for a long time, from the early 1980s until he was found not guilty in May 1989. This is a Georgia record. In the spring of 1997, the movie was filmed at 429 Bull Street, which is also where the shooting took place. Sonny Sealer, who was Williams' real lawyer, played the judge in the movie. People thought it was even stranger when they remembered that Williams had died of a heart attack on January 14, 1990, just 8 months after he was freed. In honor of Williams, Spacey later gave $200,000 to fix up Savannah's Lucas Theater. The movie's premieres were on November 17, 1997, in Burbank and on November 20, 1997, in Savannah. This brought the story back to its roots. On March 26, 2000, at the Shrine Auditorium, Spacey walked onto the Oscar stage for American Beauty. This time, it changed everything again. He won the Academy Award for Best Actor for his role as Lester Burnham, a guy from the suburbs who was about to lose it all because of his life. 8 awards were given to the movie, and 5 were won, including Best Picture. On January 23, 2000, he won the Golden Globe and the award from the Screen Actors Guild. As Lester grew up, he learned to be awkward by watching Walter Matthau. He also trained his body to go from slouch to toned as this happened. His acceptance speech thanks his mother and had the proud tone of someone who knew they were being watched by everyone. American Beauty turned into a culture mirror that showed everyone their anger and longing. Then his most private interest came along. He worked hard for 12 years to make Beyond the Sea come to life. Beginning in 1994, he kept going for it even though he kept getting turned down. They kept telling him he was too old to play Bobby Darin. MGM dropped out just a few weeks before shooting starts. That's why he directed, produced, co-wrote, and starred in the movie himself. He sang all 18 songs on the movie's music, calling out his own name. Starting in October 2000, he worked with Roger Kellaway to learn how to play like Darren. It was filmed from November 2003 to January 2004, and most of it was done at Babelsberg Studios in Germany and Pinewood Studios in England. It was shown for the first time at the Toronto International Film Festival on September 11, 2004, and he was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy. Few people liked him, but the fact that he agreed to do it for 12 years showed how far he would go for a part. He went back to Bryan Singer's world in 2006 to play Lex Luthor in Superman Returns. This role made him one of the most famous bad guys ever. The movie made $391.1 million global, even though it cost between $204 million and $223 million to make. It opened with $52.5 million on June 28 and made another $52.5 million over the next 2 weekends. 2006, it took 117 days to hit $200 million in the United States. Spacey used both voice work and motion capture to give Luthor a strong stage presence. He stood next to Brandon Routh's Superman as the Fortress of Solitude sparkled around them. The movie got good reviews, 73%, but it didn't do well at the box office for its size, which ended any hopes of a repeat. The next year, he used Fred Claus as a different kind of bad guy. The holiday comedy came out on November 9, 2007, and made $97.8 million, even though it cost $100 million to make. In its first weekend, it made £1.93 million in the UK, making it the biggest movie of the weekend in that country. Spacey played Clyde Northcutt, a cold efficiency expert who was sent to check out how Santa's business is running. The movie was shot at Bavaria Studios in Germany. It was in theaters for 6.3 weeks and made $72 million in the US and $25.8 million abroad before it closed on February 14, 2008. In 2008, he went back to more intense drama with 21. The professor who led the MIT blackjack team was played by him. The movie had a $35 million budget and opened on March 28, 2008, with $24.1 million from 48 theaters. It stayed at the top of the box office charts for 2 weekends before coming in at number 7 with $7.8 million worldwide. It used the high-low method of counting cards, which says that cards 2 through 6 are worth +1, cards 7 through 9 are worth 0, and face cards are worth -1. There was a cameo by Jeff Ma, the real MIT student who sparked the story and worked as a consultant. He played a dealer. Filming began in March 2007 and took place in real Las Vegas casinos. Scenes at MIT had to be filmed at Boston University because MIT wouldn't let them use their facilities. His power went far beyond movies. He became artistic director of the Old Vic Theatre in London in February 2003, when he was 44 years old. After giving up his six-figure pay of about £100,000 a year, he saved the historic building from being turned into anything from a themed pub to a lap dance club. He already caused a stir in London in 1998 with his role in The Iceman Cometh. In 1999, he won the Laurence Olivier Award for Best Actor. That show ran for more than 4 hours and 15 minutes and went from the Almeida to the Old Vic before coming to Broadway in April 1999. He filled the Old Vic with famous people until the middle of the 2000s. He directed and acted with Eve Best in A Moon for The Misbegotten in 2006. All 100 shows were sold out before the show moved to Broadway. He worked with artists like Matthew Warchus and was in Propeller's all-male Shakespeare productions in 2007. In 2005, he was in The Philadelphia Story, and in 2008, he was in Richard II. Ian McKellen himself was in the 2005 season. Sam Mendes' production of Richard III in 2011 was his last big artistic achievement there. It went on tour around the world and ended at BAM in New York. But behind the happy public face, stress was rising. The results of a probe by Louis Silken were made public by the Old Vic in November 2017. 20 people came forward to say that he did wrong things while he was running the theater from 2004 to 2015. 14 of them were men who used to work there. Between 1995 and 2013, more than half of the claimed crimes took place inside the Old Vic. The report said that people didn't feel like they could speak out and that Spacey did not have enough monitoring. His fame scared younger employees who were afraid they would lose their jobs. That being said, when he left the Old Vic in 2015, it was a big deal. He was given an honorary CBE by Queen Elizabeth II in 2010 for his work in British theatre. He received the Olivier Award in February 2015 for his 10 years of service, which included programs that touched 100,000 young people and people living in one of London's most troubled boroughs. Clarence Darrow was his last show as artistic director, which took place on May 28, 2014. Later that year, Matthew Warchus took over. He said that Spacey had helped bring the Old Vic back to life and put it on the world stage. When Anthony Rapp spoke out on October 29, 2017, Kevin Spacey's life changed in a way that no one in Hollywood could have imagined. It was 1986, Rapp was only 14, and Spacey was 26. Rapp said Spacey made a sexual move toward him at a party. It happened in Spacey's New York apartment, where he picked him up and quickly laid on top of him on a bed. Spacey seemed drunk. These details were first told by Rapp to The Advocate in 2001, but Spacey's name was left out to avoid controversy. When the news came out in 2017, Spacey wrote on Twitter that he couldn't remember what happened but that he was sorry for his sincerest behavior while he was drunk. Rapp sued Spacey for $40 million in civil court on September 9, 2020, saying that Spacey sexually assaulted her, sexually battered her, and intentionally hurt her feelings. In October 2022, 2 years later, a jury found Spacey not guilty on all charges. Rapp was told to pay $39,000 due siege and $89 for court costs. It was the first sign that things would not be easy with the law going forward. When the story first came out, Hollywood went crazy. Netflix stopped making season 6 of House of Cards, then fired Spacey and took away both his lead part and his job as an executive producer. 13 shows were planned for the last season, but only 8 were made. An arbitrator said that he had to pay $30.9 million to MRC, the company that put on the show, in August 2022. A judge in Los Angeles agreed. Said he broke his contract by sexually harassing crew members during all 5 seasons he was on the show. Around the same time, Ridley Scott, the director, made one of the most shocking choices in the history of movies. He res-hot all of Kevin Spacey's parts in All the Money in the World and replaced him with Christopher Plummer just a few weeks before the movie was set to come out on December 22, 2017. Everyone from the cast and crew came back for the unexpected shoot, so the movie could keep going as planned. He was also fired from Netflix and his movie Gore was taken off the air. One of the most famous stars in the world, Kevin Spacey, was gone overnight. More people came forward as the news got out. More than 15 people made claims. And in November 2017, the London branch of the Old Vic Theatre said it had received 20 personal stories of alleged misconduct. From 2004 to 2015, Spacey was the artistic director. An outside review found that 16 of the 20 complainants were former employees, and all of them were men. Also, more than half of the alleged incidents happened inside the theater. The victims said that he made them feel uncomfortable at times and that his behavior sometimes crossed the line into sexuality. Some said he pushed them in. The Old Vic came to the conclusion that he wasn't responsible for anything and that staff didn't feel like they could speak out. At about the same time, 8 people from the House of Cards cast made claims. Tony Montana told a story as a filmmaker. The same thing Harry Dreyfus did. And Heather Unruh, a news reporter in Boston, said he hit her 18-year-old son. Very soon, there was one of the most exciting trial stories in the whole saga. Police say Spacey groped an 18-year-old busboy at a restaurant in Nantucket, Massachusetts, in July 2016 and was charged with criminal indecent assault and battery in December 2018. Police say the young man lied about his age and told Spacey he was 23 and going to Wake Forest University when he was only 18 and working as a busboy. It says in the criminal charge that Spacey touched him near the piano at the bar. He took off his pants and groped him for 3 minutes. The person who accused Spacey said that he was texting his girlfriend and friends on Snapchat the whole time. He even sent a video of Spacey touching him to his partner. On January 7, 2019, Spacey pleaded not guilty. If he was found guilty, he could have spent up to 5 years in jail. After 7 months, on July 17, 2019, all charges were dropped because the accuser's cell phone was no longer being found. And the boy used the Fifth Amendment to stay out of court testimony about texts that his mother admitted to having deleted. After many years, in July 2023, Spacey went to a UK courtroom under his real name, Kevin Spacey Fowler, and talked about parts of his personal life that no one had ever heard so in-depth. He was on trial at Southwark Crown Court on 9 counts of sexual assault against 4 men. He said that he was promiscuous, a big flirt, and often had random meetings with people. He admitted to being unfaithful when asked if he found sexual risks exciting. He also said that wasn't a bad thing about him. He said that being close was amazing and beautiful. He also said that 3 of the 4 people who accused him had sued him in civil court. That one wanted more than £450,000, which is around $570,700. He said that he paid detectives to look into 3 of the people. It was 2023, not 1823, his lawyer told the judges, so having sex or a casual relationship was not a crime. The jury found him not guilty of all 9 charges on July 26, 2023. The event that caught everyone's attention happened earlier in New York. His civil case against Anthony Rapp was thrown out by a federal jury in Manhattan on October 20, 2022, after only 80 to 90 minutes of discussion. The case was based on the same story Rapp had told before about how Spacey jumped on top of him at a party in 1986. When the decision was read, Spacey bowed his head, feeling sad and happy. He gave his lawyers a hug and put his hand on their backs. He then left the building without saying anything. During the trial, he testified with tears in his eyes, saying that it never happened and that he would never be interested in a 14-year-old. Lawyers said the decision was a big win and that the jury paid attention to the facts instead of the noise around the #MeToo movement. Afterward, Rapp was told to pay Spacey's legal fees of $39,000 to $89. The trial in the UK in 2023 was even more intense. 9 charges of sexual crime against Spacey were dropped by a jury on his 64th birthday, July 26, 2023. The jury had been deliberating for 12 hours and 26 minutes. There were 7 counts of sexual abuse, 1 count of making someone do sexual activity without their permission, and 1 count of making someone do penetrative sexual activity without their permission. The claims covered the years 2001 to 2013 and were made against 4 men. Prosecutors said Spacey touched 3 men inappropriately while working at the Old Vic between 2004 and 2013. One of the men said Spacey had oral sex on him while he was unconscious in Spacey's London apartment. As the judges left, the actor put his hand over his heart and said thank you twice in his head. In court, he said that he had been a big flirt and sometimes awkward, but he denied that he had hurt her. There were shocking claims and tense conversations in the courtroom scenes. One lawyer said he was a sexual bully who liked making other people feel weak and unsafe. She said that he was safe because of 3 things. The reason for this was that men were less likely to complain, be believed, and have things changed. One blamer said Spacey grabbed his behind while he was driving so fast that it almost caused a crash. And someone else said he grabbed them hard, like a snake, and it hurt a lot. In a twist that made news all over the world, Elton John and his husband David Furnish showed up on video from Monaco to back Spacey's story that he wasn't there on one of the nights in question. They said he had been at their annual Windsor ball. Spacey strongly denied that he was driving and said he wasn't trying to kill himself. He said they touched each other sometimes, but he denied any aggression. He also said that he did hire private investigators to look into at least 3 accusations. The storm wouldn't go away, even after he won in 3 big games. Rory Cannon, an actor, sued Spacey and 2 groups with ties to the Old Vic and civil court in London in February 2025. In a 2024 Channel 4 program called Spacey Unmasked, Cannon said that Spacey touched him in public at a press night in 2013 when he was 21 years old and Spacey was 53 years old. Spacey denied what the documentary said, and he said that Channel 4 turned down his request for more than 7 days to react to new, anonymous claims that go back 48 years. During a time when the network was having trouble getting viewers, he said he would not keep quiet. A program showed 10 men who had not been involved in earlier cases. They told new stories from his teenage years to his time on House of Cards. His lawyers said that these accusations were the same ones that were used against him in court, where he was found not guilty. He wasn't around Hollywood in the years after 2017. He was banned for 7 years, which lost him jobs and cost him more than $100 million in legal fees and arbitrations. Arbitrators said he broke rules about how to act with House of Cards crew members, so a court in Los Angeles told him to pay $31 million to MRC. MRC had to fire him, stop making season 6, rewrite the whole story, and cut the season from 13 shows to 8. This cost them a lot of money. Spacey told Piers Morgan in June 2024 that he was broke and owed a lot of money. He also said that his Baltimore home was going to be auctioned off and that he had to store his things. He was stuck in small independent films and European projects even after being found not guilty in 2022 and 2023. By 2025, he was back at big film festivals with his sci-fi thriller Holy Guard Saga, which was an attempt to start over. In May 2025, he went to Cannes for the first time in almost 10 years to take an award for his lifetime of work at the Better World Fund's 10th anniversary gala at the Carlton Hotel. He spoke for 10 minutes about the hard years he had been through and thanked people who had waited to decide how they felt about him until the court cases were over. The award honored his many years of artistic work and the impact he had on movies. Producer Matt Hookings set it up by asking the fund's head, who was a fan of Spacey, what he could do to help him. Italian director Franco Nero stood proudly next to him. He put him in a movie in 2022 when almost no one else was ready to. The actor's appearance at Cannes also helped get people excited about his new thriller, The Awakening, which was being pushed at the time.